I just recently went to a conference where one of my heroes of the fire service was speaking. It was an all-day lecture, about 8 hours. And he's one of my heroes because of his book that I've written, his book that he wrote, I've read many, many times. And he's one of the cornerstones of my library. A book that I always go to is a book about leadership in the fire service. And it's a book that every officer in the fire service should read. And that is how you should perform on the fire, out in the fire service. But and I'm not going to mention his name, and I'm not going to mention his book, because I don't want to put him down for his lecture, and well, you might figure it out. But in that whole time, there was never any mention of religion. Never mentioned that what we do is holy. That being a firefighter, you are a holy servant of God. You are serving all the citizens around you. You are the only help to the needy when they call for help. Descendants of the Knights of Malta. And it just struck me that, and I'm sure it's pervasive in most of the fire service, that they see themselves only as civil servants. They see themselves as only collecting a paycheck from the city. But to me, it is much higher than that. To me, we are more than just public servants. As a firefighter, as any firefighter, you are called by God. You are called by God to become a firefighter, whether you believe it or not. You do not believe it's a holy order when you're pulling victims out of a fire. You do not believe it's a holy order when you're picking up the elderly woman off the ground who has been laying there for hours and hours. You do not think that you are helping this lady. I believe it takes more than being just a public servant to get up night after night to answer that call for help. As pointed out right now, as you can hear, I believe you're more than a public servant when you're called out at 3 in the morning in a pouring rainstorm to go out to our car accident and help those victims out of their car, extricating them, doing whatever, when you're out there in a pouring rain when you could be in bed sleeping. I think you're more than a public servant when you're saving that life of the father who's suffering a heart attack. I think you're more than a public servant when you help deliver that baby and bring that child into life. What other job is there where in 1 minute you could be delivering a baby, the next call you could be saving a life from a victim of a heart attack, the next minute you could be saving somebody's life from a fire. or diving underwater to save a drowning victim. There's no other job like that in the world except in the fire service. It's not a job, it's not a profession, it's a holy order of God. We are performing God's work on earth as firefighters. We are God's hands, eyes, ears, and mouth. What we say is words that come from God. Our hands saving lives are God's hands saving lives. Our hands pulling victims from a car accident or from a fire, from the water, are God's hands. We are just, our bodies, our minds, our souls are all in use by God for us to be firefighters. So we are more than just we are much more than just civil servants, much more than public servants. We are God's servants in the holy order of firefighters.